Hi everyone, I am Soumyadip Paul, a mentor at CodeCardos and a software developer at Amazon. And in today's video, I'll be covering on how to approach LeetCode questions and how one should solve LeetCode questions. Okay, so very first point is keep a practice to solve one LeetCode question every single day. I mean it, every single day. LeetCode is literally the holy book for every software developer out there. Okay. Even with the onset of AI, I see a lot of posts claiming that hey, LeetCode will go out of fashion. But trust me, it's as a developer who has been in the market for 4 years, as someone who works at Amazon, I can assure you, LeetCode is something not going away, never. And I also see a lot of opinions that hey, I have been doing development for 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 years, and I have never used DSA in development, so it's not really required. And to such people, I would like to say that you have not worked on really good development based projects. If you're working on really complex projects, really good projects, then you will have the need to use DSA for sure, for sure. So, yeah, so keep practicing LeetCode one question every single day. Okay. Until and unless you are entering the managerial roles, doesn't matter if you're applying for SD1, SD2, SD3, to whichever good product based company. If it is a good product based company, they will ask you LeetCode questions for sure. But yeah, if you have reached that managerial level, now you're applying to other companies as a manager, then it's fine if you are not practicing LeetCode, if you're forgetting LeetCode. But until then, LeetCode is uh, it is everything. Okay, so keep practicing one every single day. Now, second point is that if you're not able to think about the logic after spending say 10-15 minutes, don't worry, take a pen and paper, try to think. Whenever you see a question, try take a pen and paper, try to think about the logic. Okay, draw some diagrams and see if you can come up with the logic. But if you can't come up with the solution, if you can't come up with the logic, ask ChatGPT to explain the logic for this question. Don't see the code from ChatGPT, just see the logic of the solution. Okay. So once you see the logic, the third step is to try to code it yourself. See, for a programmer, coming up with the logic is one part, and actually being able to code it is another part. Okay. Your logic building will take time. Once you do 200, 300, 400, 500 questions, your logic building will slowly keep on developing. Okay. But first, you should be a good coder to code any logic, however complex it is. Okay. So both these skills develop separately and side by side. Okay. Now, the fourth point is if you're not able to code it fully by yourself, okay, suppose you are able to think of the logic by yourself. If you're able to think of the logic by yourself, just have a chat before you start coding it. Just have a chat with ChatGPT that, hey, this is the question. This is what the logic I thought. Tell me if it's correct or not. If ChatGPT says that yes, it is correct, great, go ahead and try to code it. If not, again, go to step 3 and ask ChatGPT what the solution, what the logic will be. Okay. Treat ChatGPT as your personal interviewer. Even in a normal interview, your interviewer will give you a question. You try to think of a logic, you try to think of a solution, and then you tell that solution. If the interviewer agrees with your solution, if the interviewer thinks that yes, your solution is optimal, it is most efficient, then they will ask you to code it. Otherwise, they will give you a nudge or maybe give you a hint that okay, you are going on the wrong track, try to think along these lines, etc. Okay. So suppose you were able to think of a logic, you asked ChatGPT, ChatGPT also confirmed you that hey, yes, your logic was correct. Or if it was wrong, or you could not think of a logic and ChatGPT told you the logic. Then comes the fourth step where then that was the third step, that try to code it yourself. But in the fourth step, if you're not able to code it fully by yourself, then either ask ChatGPT to code it and then look at its code and try to complete yours. Or give your incomplete code to ChatGPT and ask it to complete it for you by keeping the same structure. Okay. This way you will learn how to code any logic, however complex it is. Okay. Then the fifth step is that If you code it and some test cases pass, sorry, some test cases fail, then try to debug it by yourself by dry running it for all the failed test cases. Take a pen and paper and literally take the failed test case, failed input, and dry run it on your pen and paper, line by line. This is the most important skill. Okay. Now, this is not as important from an interview perspective because in an interview, you won't be executing the code. Okay. You will just be writing it in a piece of paper or on Google Doc and then explain it to the interviewer. So the interviewer will just have a quick look at it. And if the explanation seems correct, the interviewer will give a nod to it. They won't check by submitting it or executing it. So few small edge case errors are still fine in an interview. Okay. But as a developer, it should be a good habit to try to debug your code by dry running it. But still, if you're not able to debug it by dry running it, and this still gives you, what do I say? So this will be the sixth step. That if you're not able to debug it, then you may give it to ChatGPT and the test case and ask what's the issue. Understand that issue and then try to fix it yourself. Okay. And the seventh step is that once you solve the question, write the logic of the code in that solution itself in comments. So that if you come across that question again, and if you're not able to remember the logic, read those comments and try to see if you can figure out the logic, if you can remember that logic. Or say you have an interview. So then just 3 to 4 days ago, you may quickly revise 200, 300 questions by just going over the question and its logic. Okay. And that is what I do. For all the 500 about questions I have solved on LeetCode, I have written the logic for each of those questions. Now, if I have an interview, I'll just go over those questions, as many questions as possible, 200, 300 questions. And just read the question, think about the logic. If I'm able to think about the logic, great. Or else I'll just go over my comments and try to remember the logic. Okay. So yes, follow these 7 steps and you should be good to go. Okay. And remember that LeetCode is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It takes time and a lot of patience. Okay. Have a pen and paper. Try to dry run those codes. Even if it is not important from an interview perspective, it still builds a lot of confidence if you're able to dry run your code, and it makes your understanding of the code much more clearer. Okay. That is why at Code Cardos, whenever I teach any program, any code, I always make it sure that yes, I taught this algorithm, I coded it. Now I will again explain it by dry running it. Okay. So yes, keep practicing guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. And if you want to learn DSA or system design from developers who work at top-notch companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, etc., then do join Code Cardos.